Ben, we're talking about a number of people killed. The last that I heard was at least 6 people killed, 120 injured. What started these attacks on these Coptic Christian churches?
Well, Reggie, the latest is that the death toll is 11, more than 120 wounded in these clashes that took place in the neighborhood, the working-class neighborhood of Mbamba, where we are now. The atmosphere is very tense. Just a little while ago, we were near the site of one of the churches that was the center of this violence, and there were army soldiers there firing in the air, trying to keep people away from the scene. Now, what sparked this were rumors that a woman, a Coptic woman who had converted to Islam, was being held against her will in one of those churches. That sparked a march by people known as Salafis, that basically Muslim fundamentalists who wanted to find out about this woman, possibly free this woman from the church. There's no clear information whether this woman was actually there or whether she converted to Islam, but it set off a night of violence, and as I said, Reggie, it's still very tense in this area. We had to leave quite quickly because there was a very hostile crowd who threw rocks at our car as we escaped from the scene. Reggie?
Well, 11 people dead now that you're reporting. This, of course, follows that terrible church bombing that happened New Year's Day that killed 23 people. Now, of course, since then, we've seen the uprising, a change in government in Egypt, but it seems as if that change hasn't necessarily changed the tensions between Christians and Muslims.
No, in many ways, Pandora's box has been opened. You have an upsurge in sectarian tension. Many of these Salafis, it said, were under the Mubarak regime, were held in prison. Now they're free, and certainly just the amount of tension, sectarian tension, really does seem to be on the rise at the moment, certainly following yesterday's violence here in Mbamba. Reggie?
I should also ask you what role al-Qaeda may have in all this, because it was just, last fall that al-Qaeda essentially said that it was open season on Christians in the Muslim world.
Well, what we have seen is certain expressions of support for Osama bin Laden. Just the other day on Friday, there was a demonstration by several hundred of these Salafists, these fundamentalists, outside the American embassy in Cairo. They, of course, mourning the death of Osama bin Laden. Now, to what extent al-Qaeda actually has a hand in all of this, it's very hard to say, but it's certainly what we do see is that without the controls of the Mubarak regime, forces have been unleashed in Egypt that certainly give rise to some concern.
And Ben, how seriously is the government now taking these new attacks?
Well, they do seem to be taking it seriously. Issam Sharaf, the prime minister, was scheduled to fly to the Gulf today on a visit, but that has been canceled, and he's called for an emergency meeting of the cabinet. They've deployed troops in the area of in Mbaba as well to try to restore order, but in this very crowded working-class neighborhood, that's something of a tall order. Reggie?
Again, we've been talking to Ben Wiedemann. He reports now 11 people dead after a violent night. 2 different church attacks there, Christians and Muslims apparently. The tension worse than ever.